First thing we're going to talk to is the access point. It controls up to 125 units. It operates on 2.4 or 5 gig frequencies. As I mentioned, it's got interference detection and avoidance, 128-bit encryption. The access point has 1 analog in and out, 10 Dante ins and outs. It's got a built-in LCD, so you can use it without using a laptop or computer connection. However, it does have an embedded GUI for advanced controls. And it is a single network connection. It's just PoE, and that operates and transports your audio and all of your data. The 640 is the delegate station that you've got in front of you here. This allows you to select the different participant roles, whether it be chairman, delegate, listener, or ambient. A dual delegate will be coming with a firmware update down the road, but as of right now, it's just those 4 roles. It has your touchscreen display for configuration, control, and all your meeting information. It's got your built-in loudspeaker. It's got an NFC card slot for participant identification. It's got a micro USB on the back. If 11 or 12 hours isn't enough time for your meeting, you can plug in a standard micro USB, and that'll keep the battery trickle charged and keep the unit running. It's got a 3.5mm TRRS port on the back for remote participant. I'm going to go over that a little bit later on. And then it's got dual 3.5mm headphone jacks on either side. Something we skipped in this presentation is, I mentioned the NFC card slot. Shure does support an NFC card reader, reader/writer that you can order from Amazon for about $50, and we can give you the part number. We've got one sitting at the back here. Shure's not going to brand their own card reader/writer. You can buy one for $50, and then we'll sell you the cards, and you can download the software for free from our website. So when someone comes into your meeting with the wireless system, you can just have them come in, you program their card for them. It takes 1 second, and then when they put it in the machine, in the unit, it'll identify who they are, and every time they speak, their name will come up on the unit, so you know who's talking. Okay. Those same cards are also used in the wired system, and we'll go over that a little bit later on when we jump into that system. The network charging station, again, it's just connected via the network switch. It gives you up to 10 batteries at a time, shows all of your charge status, including battery life, how many cycles it's been run through, total charge, time to complete charge. It does have storage modes. It'll decrease the battery to about 30% for safe storage and transport. It's tabletop rack or wall mountable, and you get about a half a charge in an hour and a half, and a full charge takes about 4 hours. The SB930 battery is a 3-cell lithium ion. Shure publishes a specification of 11 hours of runtime. That's conservative, and that kind of fits in the way Shure does things. I've seen times of up to 13 hours on these batteries. Particularly in standby, you're going to get a lot more time if they're not being pushed heavy for a lot of talking. And then it's got your integrated status as well. It's a 5-segment LED. You can just push on the button and it'll show you how much power you have left. Gooseneck mics, it's the same idea as the 5900 series. However, these use Shure capsules. So this is a cardioid polar pattern that ships with the microphone. You can change that to a super cardioid or Omni if you wanted. And then we do have the new shotgun mic, which is what I'm using here. To keep that in mind, I particularly like it for people who don't like to have to lean in. So you can, if you've got a lazy participant, they can stay back a little further and you'll still get picked up by the shotgun. It's got a bicolored LED. One of the cool functions with the wireless that we do not have on any other products is that you can change it from red for live to green for live. That's just part of the GUI. Rest of the world, red means go for microphones. But in America, we want green means go. So you can change that easily in the GUI now. So when your light is green, you know you're on. It's got a locking 10-pin connector, and it uses Shure's ComShield technology to give it full RF immunity. So what kind of applications? Let's say we've got a structured meeting where we need a chairman who has controls and permissions and speak limits. With a new firmware coming out, we will be adding speak timers to the MXCW. As of right now, it does not have a timer, but it gives you identification with the NFC card slot. If you had a flexible meeting where you're going to roll this in as kind of a rental application, you've got multiple participant roles. You can just change that on the unit itself. Like I mentioned, it's got your interference detection and avoidance, and then your analog in and out. If you need to go from the APT to an in-house system for sound reinforcement, you can just do it that way. And then if you're doing a historic venue where you don't want to be disrupting anything because it's completely wireless and it's a single connection to power the access point, very easy to install and get up and running. It also gets you running in under a minute from the time you put on the access point to plugging in those units. You're up and running. If you guys want to now, there should be a battery in front of you. If you want to slap it in the unit closest to you, I'll give you a quick idea of how long it takes, because it actually takes longer for the units to boot up than for the access point. They remember their state, so I removed the batteries while the units were on, so as soon as you put the batteries in, they should start to come on for you. As we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you the TRRS connection on the back. With a firmware update coming soon, it's going to allow for remote participant. If you were late for the meeting, I could give you a call on my cell phone and then plug my phone into the back of this unit, and now your call would occupy one microphone channel, but you'd be able to engage in the meeting and listen to the meeting on your end. Only drawback for that is that I'm going to rely on you to use your mute button on your phone to mute your microphone so that we're not listening to you in your car the entire time. So another option, if you put one of these units in a listener mode, you could remove the microphone and then hook it up to a powered speaker that would give you sound reinforcement for an overflow room or a press box. And it just allows you to do all of these things without using any external sources at all or any other products. It's a complete Shure solution. Kind of embedded in this is the web application. There's 3 different views: an admin view, a chairman view, or a display only. And you can put different passwords and permissions on those views depending on who you want to be able to access the system and how. I did mention it operates in 5 gig, and it operates in a little bit different 5 gig. It operates in DFS, which is primarily used by weather radar and military. The way that the rules work for DFS is you have to listen to a channel for 1 minute before you're allowed on it. If there's anybody else on that channel, you have to leave. So we have 2 scanners going constantly in that access point, one listening to the channel we're on and one listening to an additional channel so that if there is any interference, we have a place to bail out to jump to. When that jump takes place, you'll never hear it. It's completely imperceptible because there is a little bit of overlap between the 2 channels. This is the wireless display page on the GUI. And you can see here we're operating on that on channel 140. And then we have 14 clear channels to jump to. The way that this configuration works is red means there's traffic, but we'll be okay. It's just getting a little ugly. Orange is you're pretty much okay. We'll still be able to live, no problem. And then green is wide open. There's nothing to be concerned about. And then if there is, say your IT department is using a specific 2.4 gig channel and you just want to stay right away from it, you can deselect that channel and the system won't even look at it. So this is our map pricing on the products to give you an idea of what you're looking at. Before we move on, I'll quickly show you, with our newest firmware now on the wireless system, we've allowed voting. So it is an ad hoc vote. It's not recorded anywhere, but it is just to give you a quick idea of, if you're having a quick town council meeting and you'd like to know what the feeling is in the room, you can do this. So if you just tap your screen to wake it up, and then you'll see now the voting procedure. I've got my unit set up here as a chairman, so I can see what's happening as the vote goes on here, and then I can stop the vote at any time I'd like, and it'll display the results for me on my screen. I show that we had 2 for and 2 yes and 1 no in the room. I will show you in the access point here. I think I have to drag it over. As I mentioned, we did have 3 different views. So I've got the display view showing here now. So if you can have as many people log into that access point as you'd like to. So you could have 2 or 3 different computers showing this result in the room. You would just password protect it and then only allow users on there. If I change this, go back now to I'm going to go back into my chairman view, kind of to run the meeting here. If one of you were to push your button to request to speak, or to try and speak, if one, you can just hit your button there. It's going to show me here that which mics have been activated. I've got it set right now in automatic, so there is no request to speak. It's just automatically going into the speak mode. But you can manage your meeting this way. And then if I decided here that you've been talking a little too long, I can turn you off. Or I could, if you were refusing to speak, I could turn your microphone on and embarrass you in front of everyone and say, no, no, you need to talk, and you need to talk now, right? So there are options for that. Did you guys have any? I know, and guys, I apologize. I know I'm powering through this, but we do have some more to get to. Did you have any questions on the MXCW?
What's the left button?
Okay, so the left button is selectable. Right now, I believe by default they're set as mute. So if you were in the middle of a little speech and you needed to cough, you can use that as your cough button. It can be set for a couple of other functions. This has a super secret menu in it that if you hold, if you see your gear icon there, if you select that gear icon and then select both volume controls, and then with your thumb touch the right side of the screen, it's going to put you into the tech menu. That will allow you to change the roles of that unit, and it'll also allow you to change the functionality of the left button.
So these are volume on the...
Those are headphone volume.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a headphone jack on either side. So that would be for if we were doing a translation, perhaps having French coming through on another line, you would be able to listen to the French through the headphones. Or if we're just doing a meeting in English, it would be for assisted listening because it can be much louder out of that headphone. So you can have the left button as mute, mute all delegates off, next on, exclusive, or I can unassign it. That's in the chairman mode. In delegate mode, there are some different options as well. It also, these units in production models ship with a single button as well, so you could turn that left button into no function and then just put an overlay on it so it only uses one button. So if you've got customers or whoever's renting this unit or whoever's using it finds two buttons too confusing, you can give them one, and it would just be a speak button, and that would be it. Any other questions, folks? You guys are being too easy on me.
So I see here on the right and left, so you have two headsets?
Yes.
For the unit?
So what we could do is, if we were using this for translation and we had French going on language 1,
okay,
someone sitting on one side could be listening in French, the other person could be listening in assisted listening in English, right? Or you could have two separate listeners, both listening with headphones. As soon as you plug in headphones, it's going to ask what channel you want to listen to, and you can select that channel.
so this could be used for individual or for two?
For dual, right.
For dual. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The NFC identification, when we do have dual delegate, you'll put your card in and then you'll select which side you're sitting on, and then it would associate your name with that side. And then the buttons, the left side would be for one delegate to speak, the right side would be for the other delegate to speak.
Oh, okay.
When we go into dual delegate mode.
I see.
Yep. And that's not available yet, but it is coming with a firmware update. So I don't think we've really even got close to what these things are capable of yet. These have a lot of horsepower in them. And I think as we realize how people are using them, the firmware updates are going to continue to come out, updating more and more. For example, the vote, we added 3-button voting. We had secret and regular, and then 5-button secret and normal. And immediately, I think New Zealand said, we don't allow people to abstain. We need 2-button voting. So next firmware update, a week later, 2-button voting, right? So as we continue to use them, you're going to see more and more things unlocked and changed. So
The options would be all available. It's up to you which one you want to activate.
well, exactly, right? And we're just going to continue to keep unlocking them as we go. So, okay, so that's it for MXC Wireless, excuse me, unless you guys have any other questions. I'm going to move on to MXC, which is our wired product. Are any of you familiar with DIS, Danish Interpretation Systems? So I need to find my mouse. There we go. Okay, Shure bought DI. This product came from the Microflex Complete. This is what it looked like under the DIS brand name. It looks like something out of Dr. No, belongs in a Russian nuclear missile silo somewhere. Kind of ugly, kind of cluttered. We wanted the functionality, but wanted to keep everything a little easier to use and a little less 1980s communist era looking product. So this is the new product range. Much cleaner, much easier to use, and most importantly has Shure Microflex capsules. So these now use Shure microphones. They sound like Shure products, and they deliver that intelligibility that you're going to get from Shure that you're not going to get from anyone else. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the central control unit. This is the same unit we used in the 5900 series, but we're going to add a feature license to it that you need, that's required in order to use it with the MXC product. So you can use this for up to 3,800 participants. It's got 4 interpretation channels built in. It's got a built-in web GUI, 8 outputs and 2 analog inputs, and then this can power on its own up to about 50 units, depending on which units you're using. And then it does have a redundant cabling option. We're going to talk a little bit later on about the DCS LAN, and I'll talk to you then about the redundant cabling option. So just keep in mind, though, that if you do have this DIS CCU, you are required to purchase the feature license 6000 in order to use it with MXC, the newest product. So there are 3 models of portable units that we're going to talk about. There's actually 4, but we ignore one of them. There's a 615 model. All of these units here with no buttons or displays on them are called 620s. There is a 615 that's $50 less and doesn't have NFC capability. We only brought those in for one very specific customer, and for $50 difference, I'm not sure why you would drop the NFC, because it really does add some real functionality to the product. But with all of these products, you're going to have chairman and delegate modes, as well as dual delegate and interpretation. You are all going to have NFC card capability, and you're all going to have Braille for anyone who may have vision issues. In order to add voting, you're going to move from the 620 up to the 630. The 630 then enables voting because it's got 5 buttons for voting. Then in order to add the LCD touchscreen, which is going to give you some more functionality, as well as message display and chairman control, you're going to go to the 640 display. Now you'll see here we have a 620 and a 630 in the portable mount. In the flush mount, we also have a 620 and a 630. The guts of these units are essentially the same. However, these are flush mounted to be put into a table or cabinet. And we do have some mounted into some woodwork at the demo table at the back here if you'd like to take a look on when we're done this meeting as to how they would be installed. And again, the 620 and the 630 both give chairman and delegate as well as single delegate and interpretation. They both have NFC. However, for voting, you have to move up to the 630. There's going to be times where you're going to be tight on space, perhaps a podium, or you're just going to have a mic stand sitting in the room where members of the public are going to come up and address the meeting. Where you don't have the ability to install a flush mount or a portable unit, you can use one of these MXC MIU units. So the MXC MIU unit there itself, the one on the right, is the compact conference unit that would be installed under the table or maybe on the base of the mic stand, and then you're going to run a locking HDMI connector up to the either FS for flush mount short or FL for flush mount long. The FS has a mic and headphone capability. The FL has mic, headphone, and speaker capability. Why the one that's labeled FS doesn't have the speaker, I don't know, but I'm sure somewhere in marketing they had a brilliant idea about it. So, yeah, it is. It's short and long. That's the only difference. So, not speaker or loudspeaker. I couldn't quite wrap my head around that one, but we're okay. Also in this unit now, in this range now, is the interpretation unit. Do any of you run into interpretation? Being a Canadian, all of my meetings in Canada have to be run in both languages. So for me, this unit's very important, but I'm finding that in the US, it may not be as important as I thought it was. It is ISO 20109 certified. So if you do come across any multilingual meeting or multinational meeting where you're going to be doing interpretation, this is the best one on the market. And if you'd like any more information, Also in this is the gooseneck mic options, same as the wireless. So they're available in 16 or 20 inch with single or dual flex. Single flex being just at the base, dual flex is flexible at the base and at the tip. They are interchangeable microphone capsules, same as with the Microflex series. It's got a bicolored LED, again, same as the wireless. One of the real cool products with this is the MXC sign, which we had one floating around here with Alan Gear's name on it. These are dual name-sided signs. They're 1900 by 460 pixels. They're powered via the DCS LAN for programming only. Once they're programmed, you can remove them from power and they require nothing. So we've got one here programmed with Alan's name on it. If we don't reprogram that sign, it will stay there forever, right? So if you were deploying them for rental meetings, you could program them all in your shop and then send them out, and they're going to stay there indefinitely. You can do single or dual participant. If you wanted to split it down the middle and have one side with one name and one side with the other, you could do that as well to save space and some money. And they are tabletop or flush mount. That trim ring does come off. You can router them into the table and they'll sit flush. I think I may have mentioned cables before. Same for this product. Use our cables, please. If you're doing a permanent installation where you need to run installed cables through the floor and you need to pull cable, we're recommending that you just terminate female to female and then use our patch cables for all other connections, just to make sure that they're going to meet requirements and the system's going to operate the way you want it to. So in this product, we have things called feature licenses. The standard unit, the DIS CCU, when you purchase feature license 6000, that gives you the ability to operate up to 250 participants. This says units, which is incorrect, because you could have 100 units that are operating as dual delegates that would qualify as 200 participants. So that would use up 200 of your available seats. If you need more than 250 units or seats, you would purchase the FL 6000-3800. That would unlock it up to 3,800 participants. For interpretation, it comes built in with 4 channels. If you need more, you can buy 8, 16, or 31 channels of interpretation. The user interface that's built into the CCU allows system setup and control and provides basic system functionality without any other additional software. This would also include basic voting, just ad hoc voting that is not recorded. As soon as you're getting into a more controlled meeting where you're going to need to have recorded voting or recorded agendas and speech timers and all of these things, then you're going to look at our Software 6000. So this is a legacy product that came from Danish Interpretation Systems that we've now rebranded as Shure and brought into the Shure family. The biggest thing you're going to see, the biggest change is if you see here on the left all those SKUs, up until a year ago, that was how you ordered Software 6000. So if you needed an external control app, you had to order that as one line item. If you needed microphone control, you had to order it as a line item. If you needed a speech timer, that's a new line item. So we took 28 SKUs and we reduced that down to 8 SKUs. So the basic Software 6000 suite now includes one conference admin app, one user application, and then all of the options here on the right, meeting creation, agenda creation and control. All of that software now is included in that Software 6000 basic package. If you guys aren't familiar with this software, don't be intimidated. We're going to go through a mock council meeting in a couple minutes here, and we're going to show you how this stuff is used in real time. Just to give you an idea, when you leave here, that you're going to have some ideas of where you might be able to use this software and kind of the importance of it. There are optional add-ons. If you go back to the 8 SKUs, you'll see these additional add-ons on the bottom below the main suite. The CAA is a conference admin app, so you might have more than one administrator logging into that to help run the meeting, so you would need more than one license. Same with the user application, you can have up to 199 licenses, and that might be someone off-site via the network is calling in to set up the agenda for the next day's meeting. And then you've got your display app, where you might have, say, 10 different displays throughout a big hall displaying your agenda. You need a different application for each of those. Then you can also add on a vote module, advanced microphone control module, or an API control module, which is called. So this gives you a quick idea of the system. Leave here with, it's that one side of this drawing is DCS LAN. That's power, data, control, everything. And then on the other side is the Ethernet control. And that would be for your software or web browser control. These two things do not mix. Don't plug a laptop into the DCS LAN port that's pushing 125 watts down it. Your computer will not like it. It'll probably survive, but I have seen smoke. Yeah, don't plug it by accident. Your computer's not going to be happy with it. Windows 10 doesn't come with the automatic blow-up feature. So what kind of applications are we looking at? A city council may need to identify their participants. They may need to have a formal agenda and a vote. And you can do all of these things through MXC with the Software 6000 solution. If you're doing an international conference, they say they need 28 channels of interpretation. I was speaking with a rep yesterday from Salt Lake that deals with LDS. They do their meetings in 91 languages. So right now they're doing it all with in-ears, which I cannot imagine the amount of fun that is to set up 91 channels of in-ears all running separate languages with 91 interpreters, right? It's got to be a nightmare. So we can do up to 28 channels, no problem. Or sorry, up to 31 channels, no problem. Additional channels can be added, but we would have to route them creatively. We've got agenda and voting through the Software 6000 software, and then we've got our display agenda through the CDA. Let's say we've got a little smaller option. We need participant ID in a small boardroom, maybe 12 participants. So you bring in now, instead of your employee ID, I'm going to laminate one of our NFC cards as your employee ID, and when you come in, you put it in the unit, and now it logs you into the meeting, shows that you're there, and then every time you speak, your name would come up on the display. We're going to do voting in that meeting, but it's non-recorded. It's essentially a quick ad hoc vote. We can do that via MXC with no additional software. And then we've got one channel of interpretation. Perhaps we're doing a meeting at Toyota and one of our friends from Japan comes in and wants to sit in on the meeting. We can route one channel of interpretation for him so he can follow the meeting. One of the things we haven't talked about through this whole MXC system is how it is powered. Because it's all DCS LAN, that CCUs are capable of doing 125 watts of power. But depending on how long the cables are and which units you're using, you're going to burn up that power differently. In the past, you would have had to write out how many units you were going to use and approximate cable lengths, and it would get sent to Denmark. And someone over there would run it through a spreadsheet and then tell you, no, that's not going to work. Add more power. And you wouldn't know where to add it or how to add it. But now you can go on to the Shure DCS LAN calculator at dcslan.shure.com, enter your units in and your wire lengths, how you're planning on building the system, and it'll tell you whether or not it's going to work. If it's not going to work, it'll tell you where to put in the power inserters and how to get the system running properly. So it really is an all-in-one tool. So that's the full range here with our map pricing. For further pricing discussions, you can speak to our friends at Audio Gear at the back, because I know you're going to be placing POs before you leave here today, right, everybody? You're not allowed to leave without a PO. Actually, you can just put your credit card in the unit and it'll swipe it for you. It's fine. And then here's your feature license and software pricing as well. This is kind of the important slide, give you an idea. 24 seats using 620s with 24 microphones using a standard capsule with the feature license and the CCU. You're going to be sitting just under $24,000, so $1,000 a seat. When you add Software 6000, you're looking at adding $3,000 to the system. So while $3,000 does sound a little expensive for software, when you look at what it's capable of doing and how it unlocks the potential for the system, it's a small piece of the puzzle. Any questions here, gentlemen? You guys are way too easy. For end of the day, really? Nothing? Okay, well, we are going to take you through how this may be used in a real-world scenario right now. Our not ready for prime time actors are going to come up here. I think Chris is being a little self-deprecating as usual, but I think this actually is how a lot of smaller town city councils may operate. So Chris is going to take you through our city council meeting. I'll be floating around. If anyone has questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
We needed a translator for that too, by the way.
Price just went up on all items, 15% for American English.
All right, guys, so this is where everything gets really serious. We haven't been serious enough already. I'm totally joking.
Lock it up.
Yeah, so like Ben said, we're going to give you a spin around how a city council might work. We might screw up our lines. We're not paid actors, thank God. So just laugh at us anytime. It's all right. It's actually funner if you get engaged with us a little bit. We'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. But really also pay attention to kind of what's going on around us, okay? So as we work through the meeting, you get an idea of kind of these different things. And once we get through the whole meeting, we'll actually kind of deconstruct the whole thing and show you in more detail how these things were happening. So. Oh, well, that seemed easy. How'd you guys know how to do that?
Well, we went to training.
La-ti frickin' da. I thought those things were just paid nap time these days. Did you ever hear council people should be seen and not heard? And now your mic turned on.
It's working now.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, I can actually do it from over here, Mr. Mayor, just on the screen.
It's giving you a little too much control, Mr. Mouse.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but if we could just get to our first agenda item, if we could, which is
Go
proposal 617, and I'll read directly from the proposal itself. No person shall attempt to sell pickles that do not bounce when dropped from 1 foot and are therefore unfit for human consumption. Proposal 617.
You know, unfortunately, it's true these days. We have an epidemic of pickle rustlers around here. I myself bought a phony jar of pickles just the other day from the corner store. Took one bite and knew it was just not even a real pickle. There was no crunch. Can you believe that? A pickle with no crunch. Hey, Mr. Billy, wake up. You feeling okay?
Pickle.
A little hangover there?
Pickle.
Pickles.
Pickles. Fine.
Need some coffee or anything?
Just pickles.
Okay, all righty then. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, at this point, we'd like to open up the floor for public discussion. Do we have any members of the public? Yes, sir. Thank you. If you'd like to make your comments on proposal 617.
This is a very serious matter, and I'd like to discuss it. I've thought a lot about this, and I think I can wrap it up in about 2 words.
Wow, that's awesome. Brief, pithy, to the point. Go ahead, let's start a speech timer.
His speech timer's already been running. It starts automatically when he starts his microphone. You can see he has 8 seconds left.
Wow, I better get to it. Food freedom. Think about it.
What the hell's food freedom anyway?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but this isn't a public debate. It's just for a forum. So your comments have been recorded. Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments from members of the public? With no further public discussion, I guess the council will vote on proposal 617 now.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Mr. Mayor, with this new system, we've gotten rid of the verbal vote. You just use the touch screen. Remember training?
Okay, so what am I supposed to do?
Just hit yes, no, or abstain on the touch screen.
Oh, that seems
Training.
easy enough.
Training.
Yes, by God, a pickle should bounce. Should be crunched. That's the American way. Yep. Wait. Mr. Goat, are you serious? No?
I don't want to eat a pickle that's been on the floor. That makes sense.
I'm sure we'd clean it off.
You're sure? I'm not sure it's been cleaned off.
So you're still a nay?
You clean another man's pickles?
Nay.
Well, then I'm nay as well.
All right.
Well, the ayes have the vote. Proposal 617
We
passes.
still win the day. Woohoo.
My pickle clean.
Our next item on our agenda is Proposal 618, which reads, and again I quote directly from the proposal, "It is hereby deemed a felony and therefore illegal for anyone to knowingly poach a Sasquatch in the county with a fine of $1,000 and up to a year in jail." Once again, we open up the floor for public discussion.
With all due respect, council, this is completely unnecessary and would further hurt the community and the economy. We get a lot of curious folks walking around these woods here with heavily armed, a lot of guns on them, speaking. It's for protection, and if someone ever did get the hairy beast, just to get a little picture of him, he could very well rip your arms off. And besides, with the money someone would get for killing a Sasquatch in self-defense would far precede the fine and exceed the fine, so it wouldn't stop people anyways. That's all.
Probably wouldn't stop your family anyway. I know about them. All right. Fine. I think we just need to go ahead and put this to a vote. You can vote too if you'd like. Your touch screens. Mr. Goat, are you serious? Again, you voted no? What's with you today?
I don't believe in Sasquatch.
Well, Sasquatch does exist, and it's just your opinion.
Actually, after decades of research and centuries of zero evidence, there is no reason to believe that there's...
You know what? After decades and centuries, I'm tired of hearing you talk, so I got this figured out, and you've been cut off. I think we need to move on. Are there any other agenda items, clerk?
There's nothing, Mr. Mayor.
We need to get the hell out of this meeting. Let's adjourn.
All right, well, this meeting has been streaming live. The recording and voting results will be available shortly online.
Meeting adjourned. All right, there's our little, scene. Thank you, actors. Your check's in the mail. So, over my left shoulder, you've been watching the camera switching and changing presets. This is a One Beyond system. We operate with many different camera tracking systems, all of them that I know about, in fact. This one just seems to make it a little easier for us to interface with. They kind of like opening up their system and allowing control of their system easily with Shure devices. So in fact, if you know our ceiling mic array, the MXC 910, it's quite popular in like higher ed, for instance, to use our ceiling mic array, and we send out information about which lobe is being activated, and then the cameras can track to where those positions are. The same thing is happening here. Every time a microphone becomes activated, camera presets can be recalled. All three of these camera feeds are headed over to a computer in that rack over there. It's the One Beyond computer switching system. And at that point, that thing's making intelligent decisions about which preset to recall, which scene to recall. In fact, it'll even do like a two-up, so when the clerk turns on his mic, you'll notice that it'll switch over to a two-up view. So all of these things are happening strictly through the One Beyond system. Now, note that obviously there's some lag. I'm sure everyone's seeing that. You're actually looking at the fully processed feed that is feeding our live stream. So we have a private live stream channel running right now on YouTube, which I'd encourage you, if you want to hear what these mics sound like, you can go and listen to that. It actually sounds really good. This is the desired thing for most all municipalities and city this and fire district that. Everybody wants to be streaming on Facebook these days. So having this type of system with all this control, great sound, and a good camera switching system, this kind of hits all the sweet spots for these types of projects that lie out there. Over my right shoulder here is the CDA, the Conference Display Application. And this is literally an application that lives on a Windows machine, also in the 4 little Intel NUC computers and one CDA application installed on it. And as our clerk goes through the agenda items and voting and all this kind of stuff, it's triggering the CDA to make changes, and you see that stuff happening live. Speaker talk lists, request lists, all this kind of thing is there. That is completely configurable to however you want it to be. If you maybe you want the city seal up there, or maybe you want your corporation logo, anything can be put in a background. How the information is displayed is completely configurable. What's displayed, the text, the whole thing, you can configure however you desire. But what's driving that? Well, behind the scenes, there's also what's called a CUA, or Conference User Application. These are the applications that, like it sounds, that a user uses, and I'm going to make a switch so you can see. Oh, I want this there, and I want that there. This is the CUA. This is what is in front of our city clerk. And I had a license as well installed on my computer as the mayor so that I could see information flowing by and all that kind of thing here as well. I'm going to let Tyler take us through what he was doing during the meeting.
Yeah, as Chris said, there's endless possibilities in how you can customize this, and kind of looking at this screen, you'll get an idea of everything that I have access to. I mean, starting on the right-hand side, I can see microphones, the mimic diagram, the agenda, the different meetings that we have today. And these are also customizable to the clerk's preferences. If they want the agenda on the left, they can put the agenda on the left and the meetings on the right. Or if they want volume controls on the right, they can do that. And so this can all be customized to be able to allow kind of different access as well. I wouldn't want my mayor to have access to volume controls, and maybe I don't even want the clerk to have access to that, but we might have a technician that sits in on every meeting that would want to have these type of controls to be able to adjust. But as we get back into the agenda, as we're rolling through this meeting, I would come over here and click Set Subject, and this is what's moving our CDA. So as we get to Proposal 617, I set that subject, and it moves on over. It kind of full screen, and then after a couple seconds, it'll switch back over to show who the active speaker is, and we kind of move on from there. And then as we get into a vote, I can set that vote as a subject. Everyone can see it, and then once I start the vote, we can see that the CDA switches over to our vote results and shows us what's going on and who's voting and what they're voting and everything like that. And then we can either let the timer run down, which is customizable, can be set to 45 seconds, an hour, whatever you want it to be, or I can stop it manually from here. Now we actually get to see the results, how people voted. Once again, this is all customizable. You don't have to show how people voted, and then what the total vote is and if it passed or not. Moving back into the agenda, we just keep kind of going through the different items as we keep moving through the meeting. Now, in terms of the tech menu, we can see that I have volume controls, but I might also need the ability to turn on someone's microphone. When Counselor 1 didn't know how to activate his microphone, I used this. This is what's called a mimic, and it's mimicking this room. So we had someone back in Chicago put this graphic together for us, and you can use a picture of the room or a CAD drawing, or if someone wants to have a graphic made up, they can. And each one of these dots represents a microphone. So when I wanted to turn on Counselor 1, I turned on his microphone from this interface. Or if somebody out in the audience is talking and they leave their microphone on, I can come into this and I can turn that off. And with the same thing, I can look at microphone attenuation. So if my mayor is getting really lazy and he's leaning back in his chair, I can bump the gain on his microphone up. Or if somebody's standing at this podium and is getting super angry with whatever they're talking about and are really starting to yell, I can back that microphone back so they're not overdriving into the system. So once again, totally customizable and can be set up to tailor the clerk. If the clerk doesn't want to see all this and they just want the agenda and the meetings for the day, we can trim all of this down so that's all they see, so they're not overwhelmed with all these choices. And then maybe there's a tech who wants access to all of this stuff, and all that stuff can be custom tailored with their CUA application.
Very good. So while we've kind of run through bits of Software 6000, I kind of want to bring it back home. My unit is a MXC 640, the one with the touch screen, and you should see one sitting around. You don't be confused. I know there's some wireless units around, also with the touch screen. We're talking about the wired unit, MXC 640. If you have logged in or touched the screen once, you should see a home button at the top. You can touch your home button. There, we can see who they are. So not only are we seeing it up here on the screens, we can see it if you go ahead and touch those buttons to activate your microphones. There we go. We had a Michael Moore pop in. Now we had a Joe DeFalco. Now what's interesting here about Michael Moore, you notice he's green, right? He's in a request to speak mode right now. And I have the ability right here on my touchscreen to turn on that microphone. So yes, I just turned it on and it went active.
Yes.
Okay. I also have the ability to turn it off right from my touchscreen. Okay. So I can also mute all, and I can turn all delegates off as well from here. So even if I didn't have any other external control, a chairperson still has that kind of functionality right on the touchscreen. Back at the top, next to the house, is a to-do list. I see what you did there. The to-do list is actually our agenda item. So I can scroll through this, and some of you probably could too, but I can scroll through it, and I can select parts, and I can make it active. Now, all of your agendas should have just flipped to Pledge of Allegiance, which also came up here on our CDA display. I can go to the next one. I can go to the next active bit. Here's our open floor discussion. There's the vote that came up next. I can see folks are moving around in there. You can scroll up and down. I can go to a vote, for instance. So if I set this back, I say vote, set as active, and now I want to actually start a vote from here. I can do it again from my touchscreen. There's our 3-button vote. We're voting on Proposal 618. You can vote on your screens. And again, there's a timer that's set up for the vote. That's still active. Great, no problem. But let's say we're done, so I stop the vote. You should all be able to see the voting results on your screen. 4 for yes, 0 abstained, 1 no. There were a total of 5 present, but there were 35 seats, which means that's how many potential seats or people could be here at this meeting, okay? I can click OK. That has been recorded as well. And so the system is robust just on its own. Somebody else wants to vote about something. What are we voting about? No problem. Oh, another one. Here we go. Also, do you notice how you can change your vote? Yes, no, abstain. You can just keep going back and forth. If you're a real politician, you'll sit and wait to see how everybody votes, and then you can make a decision to change your vote. That's usually what happens, right? If you want to be on record voting one way, but you notice that like the vote's going to go the other way, that's the opportunity for you to say, oh, yeah, I'm on the record for having voted yes on that, but everyone else voted no, or whatever. So the systems are quite robust just on their own. There's lots of different potential use for these and opportunities, I think. Are there any questions about MXC, MXCW, 5900, anything that we've talked about today? Good. Well, we are going to tear this place down and start packing everything up. The roadshow has to move on to the next city now, which is DC. And we will be around. Please engage with your audio gear folk or one of us if you have any questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. We know that your time is valuable. We're lucky that we got a piece of it today. So again, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.